I would like to invite Dr. Alex Wodak to present this year's Michael Russell Award. Dr. Wodak is a physician, former president of the Australian Drug Law Reform Foundation. He started the first needle exchange program almost 40 years ago and the first medically supervised injection center almost 25 years ago in Australia when it was pre-legal. Dr. Wodak helped to start the National Drug and Alcohol Research Center in 1997. He was president of the International Harm Reduction Association for several years and has been interested in tobacco harm reduction since the early 90s. Alex, excuse me, that's the emotions. Alex, please announce the winner of this year's award.
Thank you for the generous introduction. Let me start by emphasizing what a huge honor it is for me to be invited to present this richly deserved award to Jerry Stimson. I first met Jerry in 1987 when he was working at Goldsmiths College in southeast London, and I've been lucky over the next 36 years to on and off be working with him. Now, most of us in this room are very lucky to have succeeded in one career, and we feel very happy to have done that. Jerry's had, by my count, at least 5 careers, maybe more, and he's been staggeringly brilliant in each of them. He's been spectacularly successful, first in academic research, then as a leader in academic research, then as a national and international drug harm reduction leader, then as an international tobacco harm reduction leader, and running through many of those periods, he was also a brilliant research editor. Now, it's important, I think, for all of us to try and learn from why Jerry has been so successful so that perhaps we can try and apply these lessons in our own lives. Now, when we boil it down, Jerry has been remarkably persistent, even in the face of overwhelming difficulty, and all those fields that he operated in that I just identified were very difficult areas. He's also been indefatigable. He seems to have inexhaustible energy in everything he does. It helps also that Jerry has, in my view, very healthy values, and these include a firm commitment and respect to build and protect the following: social justice, human rights, evidence, and the need to draw conclusions and recommendations from existing evidence, even if that evidence is, as evidence always is, incomplete at the time. Jerry also understands that effectiveness in public health and policy comes from collaboration, rarely from working alone. Jerry is nothing if not pragmatic. He's more interested in identifying possible solutions than identifying more problems. Jerry has a bias to include as many stakeholders as possible, especially consumers, rather than excluding people, whatever their views. Jerry's research has helped improve our knowledge and understanding of people who use prohibited drugs. He helped our understanding of the effectiveness and safety of drug harm reduction interventions like needle syringe programs when we felt very threatened by an uncontrolled international HIV epidemic. He helped mobilize international and national support for drug harm reduction interventions and made a major contribution to the international adoption, expansion, and improvement of these programs. In the last decade, he repeated the mobilization of international and national support for tobacco harm reduction. What have been the outcomes from all of these efforts? Many lives have been saved. Many people have avoided contracting terrible diseases. Glaring health inequalities have been reduced. Huge social and economic costs have been averted. This award is our movement's way of acknowledging Jerry's achievements and contributions and thanking him. But I believe the best way of expressing our gratitude is to redouble our efforts to bring forward the inevitable collapse of opposition to tobacco harm reduction. So I'd ask Jerry to come forward and accept this beautiful award. Jerry, here it is. Could you please say a few words?
This will push me over the limit when I go through the check-in on the way home. A complete surprise. Since I announced my retirement, my imminent, well, stepping aside a little bit, to my team, they've kept a lot of things from me. I'm not sure if that's because they no longer trust my judgment or they're being kind to me. So this is really such a, an overwhelming surprise, and really a big thank you to you all, and a big thank you to Alex, with whom I've worked over several decades on harm reduction issues. It's strange sort of being here because it's sort of 55 years of work, and I do deserve to do a little bit of time gardening and all the rest of it. But you suddenly find yourself at the end of those 55 years, and you reflect on what's been done. And it's quite interesting because I was in the addiction research unit at the Institute of Psychiatry when Michael Russell was there. I had my very first research job there at the age of 23, and I was lucky to design a study looking at how well heroin addicts functioned when they were being prescribed pharmaceutical heroin, which is harm reduction. And there's a long tradition of that within UK policy. And Mike Russell was there doing his early work on discovering aspects of nicotine dependence. And it was also interesting because Mike Russell was a smoker. He liked the occasional cheroot, so he kind of knew a lot of what was going on. So it's very nice to have that reward and to think back on that. I sort of had, many, as Alex said, quite a few different kinds of careers and changes, perhaps not enough. But I was always, from my sort of early sociological training, aware that people are active decision makers and move through life, and in many ways sort of self-directed. So I never had a kind of a clinical view, but I always had a view which was influenced by a sociologist called Howard Becker, who wrote a very important article. Howard Becker wrote a very interesting study on becoming a marijuana user. But he wrote another article about whose side are we on, and it was all about the importance of the perspective of people we're engaging with. So I like to think I've kept that perspective because this is all about people who are doing harm reduction. It's not experts who do harm reduction, it's not policies, it's not politicians, but it's everyday people who are making those decisions about how to lead, how to avoid risks associated with things they are doing. So it's almost my philosophy that the harm reductionists are the people who are doing harm reduction. So a lot of people to thank. I'd like to thank all the consumer activists and advocates. I'd like to thank all the many people in harm reduction who are very nice people. I mean, after many years in academia and elsewhere, it was really refreshing to come into harm reduction and meet such good people. And really a shock for me, because I was kind of a left-leaning public health person who hated industry. And I think I met my first industry people in around 2010, and when I was told, oh, we've got our harm reduction project. And I thought, BAT, but you can't have a harm reduction project. You're not allowed to, because harm reduction belongs to other people. But I met very interesting people along the way. Many people have stepped into my life and made it better. I'd like to thank all the KAC team and the Knowledge Action Change Communication team. We started out, well, Paddy and I, started out in 2011. We'd had a few, well, I was retiring from one job and we'd had a few other sort of ups and downs, and we sort of sat around thinking, well, what should we do now? And we kind of invented this company called Knowledge Action Change with Jagos and Bezola. Kind of a dream team, Nigerian accountant, tech expert, Paddy Scouser from Liverpool, and me, so a rather odd mix of people. And in the first year, we did a few things, but now we've got, you know, we've got 24, 25 people working with us, so we'd be very pleased with what we've done. And also, you know, pleased with like the scholarship program, which has been an extraordinary success. So lots of people to thank, and I'm sure I've forgotten to mention somebody I should have thanked, but thank you all for kind of stepping into my life and making my life better. And let's all look forward. We all have our own dreams about where tobacco harm reduction is going and where the world is going. So may all your dreams come true. Thank you.